Yeah, I was wondering when that question would come up. It is always the question. It's the question that most entrepreneurs or startups always sort of grapple with, right? The money question. Um, and it's interesting. It's a good question. And let me try and answer your question to you guys this way. Money's an interesting one to me because I know people who make $50,000 a year, and they're the happiest people I know. Their work-life balance is totally on point. They play hockey and soccer every week with their buddies. They coach their kids' baseball team, basketball team, hockey teams. They take 2 vacations per year that they sort of strap together, and they're happy as can be, right? And why wouldn't they? On the other side, on the flip side, I meet and I know tons of quote unquote successful people, Bay Street types, CEOs, big business owners, high execs for, accounting firms who have hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some even have millions of dollars in their bank account. And they're as miserable and as lonely as I've ever seen. But I get it. I think we all at one point reverse engineer a certain amount of money, right? If only I can make this much, I'd be, I'd be set. Or if only I can bring in this, right? The amount of financial engineering or reverse engineering that goes on in the startup culture is actually quite silly to me. It is. I've been there, but that never seemed to work for me. Why? Because if you're motivated by money, you're going to lack the enthusiasm required to push through the hard times. Because believe me, it gets hard. And then it gets even harder, right? It's not easy. And I don't think that just the desire to sort of persevere will get you through. I think it really has to be a labor of love. It really has to be something that must happen, right? And I say that, advisedly. It must happen. You must become this business owner, right? Otherwise, if you go about it through financial decisions and financial targets, I think that you're probably going to perhaps give up or fail. I'm not saying you won't, but highly likely that you will persevere during the hard times, right? If you make your decisions based on money, you're going to lose. And if I could go into me personally, when I speak of money, when we speak of money, do you know how much money I leave on the table by doing these talks, these kinds of things, where I come and I meet business owners, or for today's example, youth, or even in new prospects. When we meet with new prospects, me and my team have a no holds bar rule. What basically we share all of our ideas in the meeting. No question will go unanswered. Do you know how many of my competitors charge every time they're in a room with a customer? And I don't do that. And I reckon I see that I'm leaving money on the table, right? Here's an example of not being driven by financial sort of gains or goals. 3 months ago, my SnapMedia, my company, made unexpectedly $20,000 of revenue over target. Okay, so this was $20,000 that we had over targeted. We had overachieved our goals in 1 month. And of course, with that type of money, I had to sit down with my wife and discuss what are we going to do with this, right? What should we do with this extra cash, right? What if we took it and we paid, we went on vacation? We haven't been on vacation basically ever. We don't take vacations. We certainly talked about it a lot, but we never actually pull the trigger and go on vacation. We could have used it to pay all kinds of bills. And, what if we bought a new fancy car, right? Because seriously, our car was running down and all these things came up, right? All of these sort of questions and what are we going to do with the money, they came up, and I think it's normal. It's normal to have those talks, right? But you know what I decided to do with it, and what my wife and I agreed upon? we hired a new employee. We hired a senior employee who essentially was making more money than I make at my own business, right? Not 1 cent was spent on me personally. That extra $20,000 went into covering a signing bonus for someone and also some marketing for the business. And I'm not sure if that answers the question as accurately as you perhaps wanted me to answer it, but I see that I'm running out of time, and I'd like to close with this idea. You don't need to have a trust fund or to come from money or to live in New York City or even Silicon Valley. You can live right here in Oakville, Burlington, in Toronto, and have a very good life and make a very good living. Now, I realize that the reason you are all here is because you have a business idea or you have a startup that you just started. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure your business is fueled by passion more than financial goals or financial gain. Because if you have the passion and the heart to see your idea through, that's how you win. That's how you're going to win. Because you know why? The market doesn't care. It just doesn't care. It will twist, it'll turn, and it's just going to spit you out just when you thought you were getting ahead. The market is brutal. But if you have the passion and the drive and the ideas is quite solid, you're going to be fine. Instead of how much money you need, ask yourself a different question. And this is the real important question, and this is the question that I always start with in a marketing context. The real question is how to market to an audience that doesn't exist yet. Think about that. No one knows of you or your product, or and I'm speaking, I'm talking about the market. I'm not talking about, your friends, your family, and your network of people. They've probably heard of the idea. They're probably excited about it. What I'm talking about is the market doesn't know of you and your idea yet. So the question really is, how do you bring awareness? How do you market your company, yourself, to a market that doesn't exist yet? Answer that question, think about that question on the daily, and you guys are going to be fine. Thank you so much.